Are you having a mental breakdown and canceling your date just because you're having a bad hair day? Or because a giant pimple decided to move into your forehead? Do you think spending a fortune on luxury skincare or spending hours styling your hair is the peak of grooming effort? Well, I hate to break it to you, but you've seen absolutely nothing compared to the absolute dedication and chaotic energy of our Stone Age ancestors from tens of thousands of years ago. Back then, there were no mirrors, no mint-scented shampoos, and definitely no designer perfumes. But don't you dare think cavemen were just messy, mud-covered people running around with stone axes. They actually had strict beauty standards and fashion trends that would make today's TikTok influencers look lazy. Let's jump into the time machine and see how our prehistoric ancestors actually glammed up to survive. First up, let's talk about the ultimate holy grail makeup product that you could find in every cavewoman's purse: ochre powder. While people today use foundation to get that flawless, bright skin, Stone Age people were completely obsessed with deep red and yellow earthy tones. They would grab chunks of clay or rocks containing iron oxide, smash them to pieces with a stone axe, grind them into a superfine powder, and then mix it with animal fat or their own saliva to create a heavy-duty, waterproof paste. They used this paste to paint stripes and patterns all over their faces and bodies, looking like real-life superheroes. But they weren't doing this to go grab boba. For Stone Age men, the scarier the face paint, the better. It was meant to terrify rival tribes and scare off predators during a hunt. For women, this was their ultimate non-toxic sunscreen and bug repellent while gathering berries in the deep jungle. The only downside? This makeup stayed on their bodies for months without a wash. Mixed with sweat, it created a vibe that could probably make birds fall from the sky. Talk about beauty is pain. Now, how did they even know if their makeup looked good without a smartphone front camera or a bathroom mirror? Welcome to the absolute chaos of Stone Age unboxing and checking your reflection. Before glass mirrors were invented, our ancestors had to rely on the OG reflective surface, a calm puddle of water. Imagine spending 3 hours grinding red rocks, painting your face, and then waiting for the wind to stop blowing just so you can check your makeup in a muddy puddle. If you were rich and lived near a volcano, you might own a piece of obsidian, which is naturally shiny black volcanic glass. They would polish this rock with sand for weeks until it became a dark, moody mirror. It was the ultimate luxury tech item of 40,000 BC. Basically the iPhone 15 Pro Max of the cave world. If you didn't have a piece of obsidian, you just had to trust your bestie's hype, hoping they didn't let you walk around looking like a total clown. Next up is hair, the ultimate crowning glory, no matter the era. You probably think prehistoric people just let their hair grow wild and messy like a bird's nest, right? Not at all. Archaeologists have found tiny stone statues over 20,000 years old, showing Stone Age ladies with hair intricately braided into tight rows or meticulously twisted into perfect buns around their heads. But how do you lock in that style when hairspray doesn't exist yet? Our ancestors had a hack that was way ahead of its time. They smeared thick, wet mud or lard, yes, pig fat, all over their hair. Once the mud dried, their hair became rock solid and held its shape perfectly throughout the hunting season. However, this fat and mud helmet quickly became a 5-star luxury resort for families of lice and fleas to settle down and raise kids. That's why the most popular hair accessory back then was a sharpened bone hairpin. Its main purpose wasn't decoration. It was used to poke deep into the scalp and scratch like crazy during a casual stroll around the cave. Now, imagine going on a date with someone who hasn't brushed their teeth in, well, ever. Sounds like a literal biological weapon attack, right? Well, you might be surprised to learn that Stone Age people actually had better teeth than most of us do today. Why? Because their diet had zero processed sugar. No Starbucks, no boba, no Skittles. Just raw meat, wild roots, and seasonal berries. But that doesn't mean they didn't have to deal with bad breath or annoying bits of mammoth meat stuck between their teeth. Their solution? The OG toothbrush was literally just a twig. They would grab a wooden stick, chew on the end of it until the wood fibers frayed out into a rough brush, and then scrub away. And if you think charcoal toothpaste is a modern, trendy invention from a luxury wellness brand, think again. Prehistoric humans used charcoal ash straight from last night's campfire. They would rub black charcoal powder all over their teeth to make them look whiter and kill bacteria. Yes, rubbing black powder for white teeth. The ancient world was wild. But wait, how did they handle body odor after months of not showering? There was no Chanel No. 5, but our ancestors were surprisingly creative with their prehistoric perfumes. To cover up the smell of stale sweat and pig fat, they would crush aromatic wild herbs like mint, lavender, or pine needles and rub them directly into their armpits. In some colder regions, they would stand over a smoky fire made of burning, sweet-smelling wood to let the smoke perfume their fur coats. It didn't completely hide the smell of a human who hasn't bathed since last winter, but it added a nice, smoky, herbal vibe to the mix. It was the birth of the woody fragrance family, quite literally. When it comes to fashion, fitting checks in the Stone Age were an actual survival challenge. No silk, no Gucci, no Prada, just raw animal hides. But turning a smelly, stiff bear or saber-toothed cat skin into a wearable outfit was an extreme craft. Stone Age women had to use sharp stones to scrape off all the excess fat clinging to the hide. And then they had to chew on the leather with their teeth, day in and day out. Human saliva and the constant chewing motion were the only things that could break down the tough fibers and make the hide soft and flexible enough to wear. Just think about it. To get that cozy, chic leopard print coat for the winter, prehistoric women basically chewed their way to jaw exhaustion. Talk about a hardcore jawline workout. Forget about jawline rollers or mewing trends. Our ancestors had the ultimate natural look. Once the leather was soft, they used needles made of bird bones and thread made of animal tendons to sew everything into warm, fitted tunics. But what is a killer outfit without some body modifications to complete the look? Long before Gen Z discovered tattoos, nose rings, and ear stretchers, Stone Age youths were already turning their bodies into living art portfolios. Take a look at Ötzi the Iceman, a famous mummy from thousands of years ago who had over 60 tattoos all over his body. But remember, they didn't have fancy electric tattoo pens or sterile ink. To get inked back then, they would use a sharp bone needle or a jagged flint stone to slice open the skin, and then literally rub charcoal ash directly into the open, bleeding wound. It was intensely painful, highly dangerous, and the ultimate flex of bravery. If you survived a massive tribal tattoo session, you were instantly a certified badass. But tattoos weren't the only extreme body modification trend back then. In some prehistoric cultures, people practiced what can only be described as the first extreme plastic surgery: cranial deformation. When babies were born, their skulls were still soft and flexible. Parents would tightly wrap the baby's head with cloth or bind it between wooden boards for months. This forced the skull to grow upwards and backwards, creating an elongated, alien-like head shape. Why on earth would they do this, you ask? Because an elongated head was the ultimate symbol of high status intelligence, and royal bloodlines. It was the prehistoric equivalent of getting a designer nose job or lip fillers today, except it lasted for life. Talk about dedication to the trend. If changing your skull shape was a bit too extreme, you could always flex your status with heavy accessories. But instead of shiny gold or diamonds, they wore the teeth of their enemies or the claws of wild beasts. If a guy managed to take down a massive cave bear during a hunt, he would knock out its teeth and string them into a necklace. The heavier your necklace, the stronger and richer you were. You instantly became the hot boy of the tribe, with everyone lining up for your attention. As for the ladies, they preferred necklaces made from tiny seashells meticulously drilled with holes, or beads crafted from bird bones. Wearing these pieces proved that their family had old money status, meaning they had enough free time to sit around drilling holes into microscopic shells instead of digging for wild roots all day long just to stay alive. It was the ultimate prehistoric luxury flex. Looking back at the entire history of the Stone Age, you realize that prehistoric beauty and fashion were primal, wild, and incredibly proud. They didn't do it out of vanity. It was their way of flexing their status, strength, and survival instincts against a brutal environment. So, to my Gen Z friends out there, the next time you wake up late and don't have time to style your hair, or your skin looks a bit dull, just flex your confidence. At least you don't have to put pig fat in your hair for hold. You don't have to chew animal skin until your teeth hurt, and you don't have to carry a heavy row of bear teeth on your neck just to look good. If you found this trip into the wild and chaotic fashion of the Stone Age fun and eye-opening, don't let your primitive brain make you procrastinate. Smash that subscribe button, hit like, and share this video with your bestie so they can get a reality check. Thank you guys for watching. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you in the next episode.